Hi everyone, so today's going to be a little bit more of a different video. I'm actually going to talk briefly about plant toxicity. So whenever you're buying a houseplant, especially for the first time, I would absolutely Google some information on whether or not the plant that you purchased is going to be safe for your cats, dogs, other pets that may get into the plants, or even children. So various plants have chemical properties that will irritate skin, will cause allergic reactions, and will not agree with any kind of ingestion or anything like that. A good example is the dumb cane. It actually has, or a Dieffenbachia. It actually has, I believe, like little calcium crystals that are in the sap of the tree. So if you were to break a stem off or even touch a leaf that may have some sap on it and then rub your eyes, you're going to get a lot of swelling happening. Or if you even ingest the plant, it's actually called a dumb cane because it causes the tongue to swell and your throat will start to close and you will be speaking dumb, so to speak. So that's an interesting fact. But various plants are not safe for your pets and children if they're going to be playing around to them or breaking off any leaves or foliage or anything like that. So here's just a small list of plants that I recommend that aren't toxic to any kind of cats or dogs or any children as well. So these are going to be your safest houseplants if you have a cat that really gets into your plants, or a dog that's a little too curious, or even kids that don't understand they're not supposed to be, breaking off any foliage and then rubbing their eyes or something like that. Something else to keep in mind is just because these aren't toxic, I wouldn't go out of my way to eat any of these plants or, really put this to the test, but these are going to be the plants that if something like this were to happen, if like a cat eats it or a dog eats it, it's not going to be a huge deal. So number one is going to be the Boston fern or the sword fern. I do have a care video on that. I will have that linked below. Ferns in general, especially like a Boston fern or a sword fern, is going to really appreciate high humidity, not too picky about the light, and a lot of water. So if you're looking for a houseplant that is relatively low maintenance, I wouldn't really recommend the sword fern, but if you have high humidity conditions or are able to provide high humidity conditions and have a lot of watering attention to give a plant, then the sword fern is a good choice. Another one is going to be the spider plant. The spider plant is one of the easier houseplants to care for. I do have a care guide on the spider plant, and it is featured in my top 5 beginner houseplant video. The spider plant is actually psychoactive for cats. I'm not sure about dogs, but so spider plants are a good option as well, not toxic to cats or dogs or children. So another common houseplant that you can use as well is the Christmas cactus. I don't have a Christmas cactus, but it's a very popular, easy to care for houseplant, succulent type foliage. It's going to be a good choice if you have high light conditions as well as a relatively lenient watering schedule, meaning you're not really going to have to watch it too close, more on the drought tolerant side. So the wax plant or the Hoya carnosa is also another non-toxic houseplant that you can have in your home. I do have a variegated one that I have a care guide coming soon. If not already posted, I will link that as well. If you want to get into growing Hoyas, the Hoya carnosa is a good place to start. Relatively less finicky than the other Hoyas out there. Hoyas are going to be a good choice if you have pretty bright light conditions and if you don't have too finicky of a watering schedule. They are on the more drought tolerant side, but the biggest thing is they're going to thrive in higher humidity and you don't want to overwater them. You definitely want to give them bright light conditions. If you're up for a palm, there are some parlor palms that are non-toxic as well. They are relatively easy to care for houseplants, high humidity preferred, as well as a moderate to bright and direct light situation. Palms are a good choice. Palms are typically seen as a larger floor plant as well, so if you are looking to fill out a lot of space in your home, or a corner that is pretty bright where you get good humidity, and you don't want to worry about, the pets or the kids getting into it, a parlor palm would be a good choice. So another plant that I had featured in my top 5 houseplants for beginners is the cast iron plant. This plant is actually one of the original houseplants that was grown in Victorian England, which is an interesting fact. But this is also going to be a non-toxic houseplant, good for your children area, good for areas where kids play or you have pets that are around your plants. Cast iron will be a good option. The cast iron plant would be pretty moderate light tolerant if you're looking for a plant that doesn't require the most amount of light. They are very hard to kill, so you can't really do much wrong with the cast iron plant as long as you're not overwatering and you're giving them a decent amount of sun. They will be happy and non-toxic. So the baby rubber tree, also known as Peperonia obtusifolia, is a pretty easy to care for houseplant. I haven't had any trouble with it as long as you're giving it very bright, indirect to some moderate direct light and not overwatering it due to the succulent type foliage. It will be happy and it will get long and vine. You can use it as a hanging basket plant, but more often than not, you see them as a climbing plant stuck up with like bamboo stakes or something like that. And I do have a care guide on the baby rubber tree if you are interested in watching that. I will put a link below as well. All in all, just to recap, you really want to make sure whenever you're buying a new houseplant, if you have the potential for any pets or small children to get into the plants and mess around with the sap and the foliage and things like that, and not taking proper care, you want to make sure that you're looking these plants up and seeing if they are toxic or not. A lot of bad things can happen if you do, in fact, ingest these plants or put them on your mucous membranes in your mouth, around your eyes, things like that. You really want to be careful of that. And some of them aren't always the most straightforward, like the aloe vera, for example, is actually a toxic plant if you ingest it. However, it's a medicinal plant that is so often used topically for burns. So, you might not always make the comparison that a medicinal plant that is used topically should not be ingested, but, definitely do your research, play it safe. So let me know if you guys have any questions. That's kind of a broad kind of classification of plant toxicity and how harmful it can be, and a few examples of plants that are not toxic with a little brief synopsis there of each plant. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I will see you later.